Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Welcome to our live question and answer class. At the start of class, I want to talk about a topic which is what I call real talk. And this is fluent speaking where we make connections, we drop sounds out, we reduce things, we link things together. And you might be thinking, nah, that's not really something I need. I really just need more basic pronunciation or fluency. I'm not really interested in talking the exact same way native speakers do. And real talk is about a lot more than just sounding like a native speaker. Let me give you some reasons why, even if you're a beginning student just starting to work on your English, just starting to work on your pronunciation, or if you're the most advanced student and you think you've got it all nailed down, real talk is the right way to go. That is because it's actually easier to use these reductions, linking, fluency. It's easier to speak with real talk than it is to speak any other way. Why? These things come from the fluent speakers, native speakers, trying to be as efficient and effective as possible in the American accent. So if you think about it, we didn't just decide one day, okay, we're going to stop saying this sound and we're going to say this way. It all comes from the motor execution in the mouth, making things easier. So first of all, it might not feel easier at first because it feels awkward or different, but when you adopt this patterning, you get into that mode, it makes your speech more fluent, it's much easier. Number two, you do sound more natural. It won't sound so stilted, it won't sound like you're talking from a textbook. It'll really help to reduce the accent, which is important because of number three, which is you'll be better understood. So when you use real talk, use fluent speaking, natural reductions and linking, people understand you better. So what are some things that we do? How does real talk work? I'm not just going to tell you, I'm not going to just list 3 specific things. I'm actually going to show you using some phrases. So we'll take 3 top phrases that are going to help you get the main patterns you need for real talk. We'll break them down. We'll talk about what's happening in them. I'll give you some opportunities to practice it. And then, of course, because it's a live Q&A, I'll take your questions. So feel free to put your questions in the chat at any time. If you're watching later on, you can leave questions in a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. So first thing I want to talk about is that we drop things. What does that mean? We don't say all of the sounds in the words when we put them together in a sentence. So I might say a word say, for example, would have. If I'm just saying the word have, I have 3. I'm going to say have. I'm going to say all of these sounds, h, a, and v, have. But when I go to the phrase I would have done it, you can hear how if I say I would have done it, I would have done it, it's very slow and awkward and choppy. We don't say that naturally in fluent speech. Instead, we contract would have, and we drop the ha part. So we have no a sound, no h sound, and we just leave the v sound. Would've, would've. And so the contraction would've sounds like would've. So we do also, besides dropping, we do also change that vowel. The a becomes more of an sound, would've. So I would have done it. So that's the first thing we do. I would have done it. We drop things out. We do this for contractions. We do this for sounds as we link words together. There's a lot of ways that we're dropping. It's also sometimes called a reduction. Something is missing. Something is going away. So this one, why did I include this phrase? It may not be that you exactly have to say I would have done it, that particular phrase, but the modal verbs, would, could, should, so would have, could have, shouldn't have, wouldn't have, couldn't have, shouldn't have, wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't, all of those are really important everyday words we use all the time. And if you say I would have done it, even if you say that fluently and naturally, I would have done it, it doesn't sound the same as a native speaker. It's a little harder to understand, and it may even have a slightly different meaning. If I say I would have done it, just sounds regular normal. If I say I would have done it, it sounds a little bit like I'm saying, no, I would have done it. I'm stressing too much on the words would and have. They're not supposed to be very important here. In this phrase, the main stress is on the word done, and all of the other words, I, would, have, and it, are less important. So we should be hearing, I would have done it. These four things need to be really squished, and done is stretched out. This is because the rhythm of English gives the stress to the important words and the last content word near the end. So all those other words are little structure words. They don't really contribute to the main meaning. If I had to say one word here, if I said done, you would know a little bit about what's going on there. That's the main content word. I would have, those all have to be fast. I would have done it. I would have done it. And so contracting, dropping things, losing things helps us maintain the correct rhythm, which is one of the key essential things to be understood when you're speaking English, and to be clear and to give the meaning that you mean to do. So number one, we drop things. Second major thing that we do to change, let's put a little one here. Number two, second major thing that we do is we add things. So we add. And actually, I'm going to say this is kind of number three. This is number two. I'm going from the least important to the most important in these top three. So add things. What do I mean? Where do we add things? So as we're linking and connecting words, we sometimes need to add sounds to go smoothly from one sound to another. If you've seen my videos talking about vowel to vowel linking, talking about that within words like science versus signs, some of my other recent videos, you know this is a key element that oftentimes those hidden sounds, those missing sounds that we add, if those aren't there, you might be misunderstood. You won't sound smooth, it sounds like a different word, syllables will drop out, and it's all about the adding. So again, if I take word for word, let's take a phrase. We're going to say, I don't see it. Of course, I don't speak that way. I don't say, I don't see it. That doesn't sound natural. Notice, can you already see where something was dropped here? So I'm already including the contraction for do not. It becomes don't. The vowel changes. I lose the ah of not, and we just have a new word, don't. That is what native speakers use. It helps maintain that rhythm and is very natural. Again, if I were to say, I do not see it, sounds a little bit argumentative, like you said you do see it, I say I do not see it. So the natural way, the fluent native way, I don't see it. But notice between see and it. If I make a break there, I don't see it. It affects the flow and it gives the word it too much stress, too much time. So if I'm going to keep that correct natural rhythm, I don't see it. Again, fast, fast. Do not got contracted to make it faster. It isn't important. See is our stressed word here. I don't see it. So it needs to be long while the others are short. And if I want to go naturally from that long see into the it, if I want to link those together, I naturally get a little y sound in there. See it, see it. That's because when I'm moving from a high front vowel, the E sound, to my slightly lower it sound, if I don't have that linking there, I either have the chop or it'll become more like one syllable, like seat. I don't seat, right? So then it sounds like I'm trying to say seat or sit or something in between. I don't want those two words merging together. I need to make sure I have two distinct syllables, and the Y connection, the y linking, the vowel to vowel linking is that key. So I'm dropping some things, I'm adding some things, and this is all in pursuit of the number one thing that we need to do for fluent speech to be natural and to use real talk. So the number one, or in this case number three, is linking. We connect things. So that's probably been made clear by what I've talked about thus far, as in my examples. But in fluent speech, it's so different from written words, right? We don't speak one word at a time. Obviously, that's too slow. There's no rhythm there. The meaning is not made clear. And we have to connect. But our brains are still thinking about those as individual words because that's how we write it down. If we had to write down how we actually speak and how everything connects together, we wouldn't have a logical system for writing and spelling. So we designate words, beginning sounds, middle sounds, end sounds. But as we put them together in sentences, they connect together, which causes things to drop and sometimes causes us to have to add things. So connecting things or linking is absolutely key for fluent speaking. A lot of what we're doing in our Real Talk course, our Real Talk videos, many of the requests I get here on the channel are all about how we link things together. And I want to show you a great example for linking. Let's use the phrase, let's make sure I have room down here. I can go to the game. Okay, I'm not going to say I can go to the game. That's reading individual words, and that's not how it sounds when we speak. So what happens here as we link and connect these, as we add and drop? Let's see how we can do this to make it sound very natural. So we have some content words here. We have the verb to go, and we have the noun game. Game is going to get the main stress because it's at the end of the phrase. I can go to the game. I can go to the game. Go gets a little bit of rhythm there too. So in the rhythm, I can go to the game. We have to have equal time between go and game. Those are our two beats in the sentence. That means I can needs to be fast. And one way we make that faster is we lose something. We drop something. So can becomes more of a can. I can go. I can go. The other thing that will happen there is when I do I can go, you can tell that I'm not saying I can't go, because you might have noticed Americans don't really say can and can't with a clear n and a clear t at the end. Oftentimes that's a major thing that people have difficulty understanding. Did you say can or did you say can't? Because we don't articulate that t at the end. You can check out my video for can and can't for more details there, but can't basically keeps its a vowel. So if this were I can't go, I can't go, I don't say I can't go, that breaks my flow, but I have an unreleased t there and I keep my a vowel. I can't go, I can't go. Versus I can go, I lose that a vowel, just becomes a short little schwa, or as I've written here, basically no vowel. I can go. I can go to the game. All right, so that's my dropping. I also am linking and connecting go to the. So all three of these, I can go to the. All of that is kind of linked. Faster and game is stretched out. I can go to the game. So as I link go to the, this T changes. If I'm saying two people, to talk, etc., I'm going to keep my true T there, because the rule is in English, when a word starts with T, we use an aspirated T. Talk, take, time, etc. But when a T is in the middle, like water or better, getting, we flap it. It sounds more like a D sound. It's a light D, just one tap up. And because this is all linked together, all of a sudden my T that was at the beginning of the word acts like it's in the middle of a word, because go to the is more like one word rather than three. So hear how rather than go to the, go to the, it becomes more all one word. Go to the. 3 syllables. I can go to the game. I can go to the game. So you may not need to say I can go to the game, or I don't see it, or I would have done it. But these are examples of common everyday words, how they link together, how we connect, add, and drop. And I hope this helped you see the importance of using Real Talk for practice. Not only once you have mastered saying each individual word, but right away, as soon as you start trying to speak English, as soon as you're trying to put words together in sentences, it's really great to understand how they're different when you pronounce them as words. versus as sentences. Lots of practice on connecting, and you can get that here using my Real Talk playlist, my Fluent Speaking playlist, and of course by attending our Saturday live classes. I also have a course, our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com. It's going to walk you through the techniques of linking and reductions, understanding that, using examples as well as using TV and movies, listening to Real Talk, and learning how to apply that for practicing and changing your own speech. So I hope you'll check those things out. All right, thanks for bearing with me for my initial topic here. I'll turn to your questions now. You can ask me about this topic, or of course, other things related to fluency, pronunciation, anything to help you with making your English feel more confident and natural as you're speaking. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many of you here today. Okay, we have a question about words like news used to include a y sound, and then it stopped having a y sound. So yes, I've been talking, and you may have seen lately, I've had a few videos talking about British versus American English. So for a word like new, or news, or this word new, we just use oo. That's an American pattern. Basically, in British English originally, it would have been more new or news with the y sound. But the pattern in American English is that we drop the y, it's dropped, in words that have an n, a t, a s, and a few other sounds. So for example, we don't say new, we say new. We don't say Tuesday or Tuesday, we say Tuesday. We don't say soon or assume, we say soon or assume. So these sounds and a few others have a pattern now in American English where they don't keep that y sound any longer. We still do have the y sound in some places, right? Like music or few. Our oo does contain the y as well, but in those words and after those particular sounds, we drop it. And I have a video covering this in detail, which sounds keep the y, which don't, which exceptions we have to the rule. But this, you're correct in noticing that that y sound is no longer there. And I think that's been for a long time in US English. That's not anything new, but that may be drifting over into British English and other Englishes as well. So maybe that's what you're noticing. So yeah, so that is maybe what you saw in your app. Thank you for that comment and that question. Okay, we have a question about how to break the word talent, syllable by syllable. So let's look at how to pronounce talent. Just 2 syllables in this. First syllable is stressed, ta. That has the a vowel like cat. So the IPA will be talent. That's basically the clear a vowel in the stressed syllable and the schwa in the unstressed syllable. So I would rewrite that as talent. So it's not that we don't do any vowel there, it's just that that schwa is so short and reduced, lint, talent, that we really don't make much vowel there. So it's easy to think about the L just going directly into the N, lint, talent. If you're having trouble with this a vowel, use another word with a, like that talent, that talented cat, had talent, to match those vowels. Yeah, thank you for that request. I hope that helps you, having broken down that word. Okay, we have a question about the word irreparable, whether it can be pronounced as 3 syllables. Yeah, so even though we have the word repair, when we do irreparable, even though it looks like reparable, this is a common pattern when we have an in the middle, that we often just drop it and change it just to a r sound. So rather than a coming at the end of the syllable, parable, it just becomes prable. So it sounds like reparable. So reparable. So that's still 4 syllables and not 3. So yeah, but it's not 5 syllables. So if it were irreparable, it would be 5 syllables. The irrep is 2 syllables at the beginning, so it's down to 4. Irreparable. So we do this also with words like interesting. So we don't do interesting. Often this just becomes just an sound. Rather than it becomes res. So we do interesting, 3 syllables, interesting. We do that with comfortable, interesting, different, etc., etc. So many times the spelling will still have an ER in the middle, but the only sound will be just the R sound, not the sound. Hope that helps, and that I think that's what you're driving at with your question. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, nice to see so many of you here. Again, please feel free to put your questions in the chat or in a comment if you're watching later on. I do go through all of my comments, get back to people with answers. I may have a video for you already on the channel or resources on speech modification that can help you. So even if you can't make it live, you can use this as a resource for getting your questions answered. Okay, we have a question about the word witness and witnesses. So for witness, we have first syllable stress. We stress on the wit syllable, and the letter E sounds a little bit more like an I sound. So I'm going to rewrite that as witness. So the IPA, first syllable stress, and same vowel, witness. Or you might see it witness with a schwa written in the dictionary that way. But basically, it's just going to sound like wit. That's going to be the stress syllable, and then ness, very short, reduced second syllable, witness. And then when we change to witnesses, like he witnesses it, or there were several witnesses, we just add the is. So witness and witnesses. Witnesses, I would probably put that S there because we link those together, witnesses. Not 2 S's though, just a nis sound. So was there only one witness, or were there many witnesses? Good question. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. We have a question about how to pronounce mirage. So mirage, some people will say mirage or garage with a j sound at the end, the j, like mirage or garage. I say it with just the zh sound at the end, so that's a continuing sound. This sound is more like what we have in a word like jump or edge. This sound is what we have in measure or visual. It's just a continuing sound. So, and we stress on that second syllable, raj, and then we have an I sound here. So it's going to sound like mirage, mirage. So I usually spell out that zh sound with ZH because it's the same positioning I use for the SH sound, like in wish. So treasure, mirage, I'm using that same SH mouth position. It's just that my voice is on for this zh sound and it's off for that sh sound. That should help you get that zh sound correct. Thank you. That's a very good word. All right, we have a question about Normandy. So in American English, we say Normandy, and we stress on norm. I think in French, they would have maybe a little stress on this last syllable, Normandy. We would do more Normandy, just like the word Norman or the word normal. IPA, we're going to have first syllable stress. The or, letters OR do say or. Norman, the A is going to say an sound in English. It's not going to be an a or an ah. No letter A sound, just a reduced syllable there, Normandy. So I would write that as Normandy. Normandy. You could write it mun or min, but it's so short, I tend to write those unstressed syllables with no vowel letter, just so you can really feel that min is very short, Normandy. Great question, thank you. It's wonderful to see so many of you here this week. I've really been enjoying these live classes. Your questions really help me know what to cover on the channel, so feel free to ask about whatever you like, words you're struggling with, fluent speaking. I'm really grateful for my channel members, my subscribers, everyone who's coming to live class. It really helps me build the best resources for you here on the channel and on speechmodification.com. So thank you. I appreciate you very much. Okay, speaking of channel members, I saw we had a channel member here with a request. So we'll go to that, and I'll make sure to come back to your other requests as well if I have time for the second site. Okay, so his question about when the video for how to navigate the website is coming. I will be creating a video to talk about navigating my YouTube channel page. My website is fairly straightforward to navigate. If you're talking about the speechmodification.com, you can use the menus at the top. It's going to just show you free materials versus paid courses. And then in the free materials, there's categories on the side where you can look for particular topics. You can also use search boxes on the website, and it'll bring up information for that. For now, on the channel page, you can go based on my playlists. We're going to talk about sounds of English, words of English, phrases, and fluent speaking, as well as advanced playlists for our podcast. So hopefully you'll be able to find that on the channel page. Do use the search tool and the search box on the channel page as well for what you're looking for. And in the meantime, whether you're a channel member, subscriber, or just new to the channel, do leave me comments and questions so I can direct you to what you're specifically looking for. But thank you for the reminder. I am working on that video and working on reorganizing the channel so it has a clear path for you to follow as you're working on your speech. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your channel membership. Okay, great. We have a question about the significance of in speech. This is a great question. So or we all use fillers naturally when we speak. And some teachers, some coaches are going to tell you, oh, try to get rid of your fillers. And of course, if I'm using a filler every other word, if I'm saying like, oh my God, like all the time, like I know, and there's not a lot of content and it's mostly fillers, that's a problem. But as we're talking, if we don't have any fillers, it doesn't sound natural either. And we all need time to think and process and hold our turn, and that's what fillers do. If I'm thinking about what to say or trying to find the right word or phrasing, that signals my listener that there's more to come and that they shouldn't start their turn yet. And it's very important. It also buys me a little time to think through how I'm going to phrase what I'm going to say and be a more efficient and effective speaker than if I were just barreling ahead with no pausing, no ums, no fillers. So don't be afraid of the Try not to overuse it or rely on it, but it's also not a problem. And usually you will notice when you're actually talking to someone, you don't even really notice their ums and their uhs. If you're filming yourself, like I often do, you notice them a lot, and you actually want to try to remove some of them because we're used to a more polished delivery when it comes to watching a video, watching the news, watching a movie. There's fewer fillers. But sometimes, if you ever notice like a TV show or a movie doesn't sound very natural in the conversation, it's often because they've wiped out all those fillers that we actually all use when we're talking. So don't be afraid of it. The significance is it's used as a turn-taking signal and a conversational tool. And the reason in American English it sounds like or is all about the American placement. So this is a topic I love to talk about. The sound in this is the sound, which is vowel schwa, and that is the most common sound in English. It's in words, it's in fillers, it's in linking, it's in reductions. It's so much of our speech because when I'm not talking, my tongue is resting in the same place that it needs to be to make that sound, which is my jaw is not very open, but it's not all the way closed. Not like this, but like this. And my tongue is resting down, gently relaxed in the bottom of my jaw. My voice is on. And so that's the sound that comes up when I'm resting and I'm not making any other sounds. Because it's my home base. It's where I go to in between sounds. And that means that when I'm saying something like our earlier example of go to the, this oo and this e, those become sounds as I connect this in fast speech. So you noticed I had go to the, go to the, go to the. This is a little longer, and these are fast. As I connect and move from sound to sound, I pass through that home base. Go to the store, go to the movie, go to the class, the. So a lot of that connected, fluent sounding speech centers around that home base of the sound. If I'm waiting and thinking about what to say, I'm in that resting home base place. It sounds like So if you get that placement in that center and it feels more natural to use or you're going to have the American sound, the American connection, the American fluency. Even British English, they're going to have a slightly different resting place. Their filler might be more like a little higher, a little more front, a little different. Of course, depending on where in Britain. There's many UK accents, but every language has kind of its resting point, and the sounds they use for fillers tell you where that resting point is. So it's also a good thing to investigate in your native language. What do you say for a filler sound? What is your tongue and your mouth doing during that? And is that where your home base is for your language? Usually the case is yes. Okay, so that might have been more than you bargained for, but I really love that topic. I'm really interested in kind of how things work, why we do them, and just understanding even why we say and tells you a lot about American speech and the American accent. Great. Okay. We have a question about the word subpoena. So this is definitely one that it's not spelled in a way that makes sense for how it sounds. So let's look at how to pronounce subpoena. So we have a sound that's dropped. The B is silent, so we don't make any, it's not subpoena. You can, because the B and the P are in the same mouth position, you can feel that B shape is there, but we just release right into the P of the pina syllable. We stress on this syllable. The O is also silent. So just like in peony, the flower, subpoena just has the E sound, subpoena. Our letter A at the end is a schwa, and then we have a schwa for the letter U at the beginning as well. So the rhythm, short, long, short, subpoena. I would rewrite that for you as na, to follow conventions of American English spelling, subpoena. So I received a subpoena. I hope I don't get subpoenaed on that case. When is the subpoena going to be delivered? Yeah, definitely a tricky one, because when you look at that B and that O, you think, where are those sounds? That doesn't really match between sounds and spelling. Great question. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, we have a question about weakened versus weekend and weakening. So let's look at, first we have weak and weak. Those are the same. So EA and EE both typically say the E stressed tense E sound, weak. I've been feeling weak for a week. When I change to weakened, so weakened, ED, it's not equal to weekend. Why? Because in weakened, we have a stressed syllable and then an unstressed syllable. Weakened. So this one sounds like weak. And then the E and ED just sounds like two sounds, basically. Almost no vowel there. Weakened. He weakened over time. My scores weakened because I stopped studying. Versus in weekend, this is a compound noun. So we have clear stress on both syllables, primary stress on week. So it's just the same first part as weekend, but here we have week and on the weekend, weekend. So you can hear I still keep my vowel here, whereas here, these two sounds are basically gone. Well, this would never be there anyway, because ed after an n just says d, weekend, weekend. But this vowel gets very reduced into a schwa or not at all. So this is really key, because if you say weekend for weekend, people won't understand you. They'll think you're saying this one. And vice versa. You want to have a difference, clear difference that this is a compound noun. So both week and end keep their stress, keep their clear vowel. He was weakened by his efforts last weekend. The president's position was weakened by his actions over the weekend. Yeah, that's a very great question. I really like it. Smart idea to cover that, or to ask about that. And then you also asked about weakening. In weakening, we have 3 syllables. So we keep this syllable, weakening, weakening, but it again has a very reduced sound. So it's going to be like weakening. Far right is weakening as they become more divided over their policies. Weakening. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that request, and nice to see you here today. Let's take a look at the inverted E and the reflected E. So I think you're asking about in IPA, we have this. That sounds like it's the reduced vowel schwa. That's, as I said, the most common sound in English. Reflected E, like this, I think you might mean that. I'm not sure what that is. I'd have to look that one up. It's probably a sound that we don't have in English, because otherwise I would be using it in describing things. So it's some other type of sound symbol. I can look that up and get back to you. This one we do have in English. Most common sounds like Good. Thank you for that question, and sorry I could only answer half of it for you. Okay, we have a question about practicing English every day, putting a lot of effort into learning the language. How long will it take that student to become fluent in English? Well, practicing every day is a great idea. It's going to vary person to person. Some people pick up languages quicker. Sometimes it's easier if you're younger. Sometimes it's easier if you're older, because you're more motivated and working harder. But definitely, the more you speak and listen to English, the more you're surrounded by it and actually having to use it, the faster you'll become fluent. So there's no doubt that if you're not having to use English to interact with people, to get things done, it's going to be harder to become fluent, because really, fluency comes through language use. So it's hearing it, it's using it, not just reading and writing, not just listening, but lots and lots of speaking. Fortunately, you can do that kind of speaking even if you're not absolutely having to use it to get your needs met. If you're just talking about everything you can and to the best of your ability, even if you have a limited vocabulary, you're inexperienced with English, the more you're talking about your day, talking through your thoughts out loud in English, thinking in English, really trying to use it for everything that you can, the quicker you'll become fluent. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how long it takes most people. I think when somebody's immersed in the language, it can take 6 months or a year, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, and usually there's always more room for improvement. But in order to be functional and when working in a language, I would say 3 to 6 months fully immersed, you're going to see a lot of progress towards fluency. Thank you for that question. Okay. We have a question. I'm glad you're understanding. I'm glad you're liking the teaching style and learning. I'm sorry if you're not understanding. One suggestion I have after class is that you can turn on the closed captions for any of my videos and read along as you hear. That can be helpful. You can also slow down my videos. I leave those so that you can move it to a slightly slower speed. because sometimes that helps you catch more of what I'm saying. I tend to be a fast speaker, and I do try to slow down when I remember, but I know that sometimes I can be hard to follow if I'm speaking quickly. Okay, we have a question about different accents in the US. What are the differences between them? What's most spoken? Yes, so that's definitely a project that I would like to work on, talking about the different accents. I did a couple fun videos this week just about California and New York accents. There are many, many different dialects in English, but I would say broadly speaking, we have sort of West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, Southern, and then we also have a lot of specifics like New York City, Texas. Any particular place is going to have, Minnesota. There's going to be a regional accent many different places. Thank you so much for the gift memberships. So we just had a contributor offer and send gift memberships, and those are going to go out to people who've been watching, commenting. Gift memberships are going to give you access to members-only materials. So thank you so much. And if you'd like to learn more about memberships, you can check that out by clicking the join button. But I really appreciate that gift, and I'm sure all of the people who received that are going to be grateful and thankful as well. Contact me and let me know if you got a gift membership, and I'll let you know how to access the special materials on our website. Okay, so back to regional accents. There's more than just this. I mean, there's probably way more than I could fit on my whiteboard and way more than I know about. I've researched this and looked into it. So sometimes it's about word choice. Sometimes it's about pronunciation patterns and about pronunciation of specific words. I do have a few things about the Southern accent and the New York accent and how they differ from more standard. But your question about kind of what's most common and standard, it's kind of, I would say, between what's spoken in the Midwest and the West Coast. Those two are very similar, and it's what you hear mostly in TV and national in movies and national news. So anchor people who are local may have more of a local accent, but on the national news, people tend to have more of this sort of standard American accent. Really, I would say because we have a lot of media coming out of California and New York, then those two accents are prevalent. The New York accent, I would say, doesn't match sort of general American accent, although there's a huge range of different New York accents as well, but they have some differences. So I would say looking at kind of the way people speak in California and parts of the Midwest is the most typical. So I'll keep in mind your request and suggestion, and I'll add it to my list of things I'm going to go into more detail on some specific videos. Maybe make a playlist to help you with that. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm really interested in that topic as well. Okay. We have a question about the word authoritarianism. Yeah, so this is a useful one to know. So even though we have the word author with the ah syllable stressed, in authoritarianism we stress on the ter syllable. So authoritarianism. So an authoritarian. So authoritarianism. So we have secondary stress on the thor. So authoritarianism. Lots of syllables there, right? So rather, like I said, author would be stressed on the ah. Have a clear vowel there. In authoritarianism, we have a schwa there instead, so it sounds like a. And then a little secondary stress on thor. Letters OR do say or, so a thor. And then we have the I sound, I. And then the main stress on tear. That's like in air, authoritaire. and then we have an Ian, E, and then here's our hidden Y sound, Ian, because of, like we had in see it, that Y connects those two. Authoritarianism. Okay, Ianism. So I did write a U here. You can think of it just as zum as well. For a long word like this, 2 strategies I recommend. One is syllable by syllable slowly, but keep the rhythm, the relative rhythm. So that would sound like authoritarianism, authoritarianism. Trying to speed up as you go. Second, start on the stress syllable and build your way back. That sounds like Tarianism, authoritarianism. Yeah, definitely something we need to be able to pronounce and watch out for. Okay, question about the word respect. Is the ending sound K or a T? It is a T, so respect has the K and T sounds together at the end. Respect. If I just say respect, I respect her, it doesn't sound correct. So we want to have that respect. So I hope I've earned your respect. One thing to note though, if I'm saying I respect that, if the next sound after the KT sounds starts with a consonant sound, respect some, respect that, you're not going to hear that T sound get released. So it's going to sound like it's not there. I respect that. But you're not really going to hear the K so much either. You're going to hear like basically a stopping sound, respect that. So that KT is implied. That's like the rule of 3 consonants in a row, that these get unreleased and then you hear the TH sound. So that might be what you're noticing, that I'm really not saying I respect that, because again, that breaks up my flow. So it goes back to our rule at the beginning of things drop. The T and the K are both going to drop and be unreleased before a consonant sound. But if I say I respect it, that T is going to link to the it, and it's going to sound more like a D. So then it's going to sound like respect it. I respect it. So what the T sounds do in a cluster or not depends on what follows. Just by itself in a cluster, kt, respect. When it's followed by consonant sound, unreleased, respect that. When it's followed by a vowel, respect it. Unreleased K, and the T becomes a flap to link. Yeah, it might have been more than you were bargaining for, but that's something that we need to be aware of, that sounds change depending on their contexts. So the word by itself is going to sound different than the word in this sentence or in that sentence. The good news is that patterning of the T's or the consonant clusters is the same. So once I learn it for respect, it's going to be the same in suspect or reject. Any of those KT sounds are going to follow those same rules and patterns, and those T's are going to follow the same rules and patterns. So even though it may seem a little overwhelming to have all that information, again, we don't do these things because we decided, hey, let's be mean to people learning English, and we're going to write this respect, but we're only going to say the T sometimes, and we're not going to tell them when. It just happens because that's the most efficient way to connect and speak fluently. That's why those patterns exist. So when you start to move into those patterns, as I said in the beginning, you'll be better understood, won't sound like you're making errors, and it eventually becomes easier. At the beginning, it may seem harder because it's like a lot of things to remember and practice, but they all happen because of natural fluent speech. All right, great. We'll take a few more questions and then we'll be out of time for today. It's a nice long class. It's great to see so many of you here. I'm really enjoying your questions, and I hope I have time for everything. If I don't get to your question, please do leave it in a comment for me after class so that I can follow up with you. Okay, we have a question about when you say that the schwa could sound like A-E-I-O-U, what does it mean? Okay, so we have sounds on the one hand, and we have letters on the other hand. So I can have the letter A can sound like or like the schwa sound, or this schwa sound in some words, right? So in a word like above, we have two schwas. We have above. One is spelled with letter O and one is spelled with letter A, but they're the same sound. So the letter A can also be, for example, the A sound like in cat, or the ah sound like in father, the aw sound like in caught, or I'm trying to think of one that's only spelled with letter A. Law, for example, caught and law. So the letter can make lots of different sounds. So the vowel schwa is usually spelled with A, U, or O, but it can also sometimes be spelled with E or letter I. So learning about letters versus sounds is a key fundamental for understanding pronunciation, because unfortunately in English we don't have one-to-one correspondence. It's not like you can see A and say, oh, that's always going to be ah. Although we do have spelling rules and patterns that most of the time, for example, letter A in English is a, like cat, and not ah, like father. So when you learn about those, it can be helpful. There are definitely patterns and rules for spelling, but breaking down, we have 15 vowel sounds, but we only have 5 vowel letters, so you do the math. Okay, I hope that answered your question. And if I wasn't getting at what you were trying to ask, please follow up with me. Thank you. Okay, so we have a question about when T sounds like D in English. So both T and D can become what are called flap sounds. And when the T sounds like a flap, or when the D sounds like a flap, is when it's between two vowels. So for example, in words, it's going to be between two vowels, like in water, it's going to sound like a D, water, or in getting, because on either side we have a vowel sound and it's not stressed. It's not going to sound like D in the word hotel, because we're stressing on that T. That's where the stress starts. So hotel sounds just like tell. So at the start of a word or the start of a stressed syllable, T is not going to sound like a flap or a D. But in the middle of a word, between two vowels, and when it's not followed by something stressed, it's going to be like a D. The other time that it sounds like a flap, that T sounds like a flap, is when it's between two vowels in two words. So for example, if I say get a pen, get a, this is going to become a flap as well, because I'm linking to that next vowel sound. So again, it's like it's between two vowels. And as we said in the beginning, we don't say get a pen. We don't break our words that way. We're going to say these two quickly and link together because pen is stressed. So pen, get a pen. So those are the main places that we have T sounding like D or like a flap, in the middle of words and as we connect to vowel sounds at the ends of words. Great question. Thank you. I do have a lot of details about that here in some videos in my Sounds of English video playlist here on the channel, and also in my Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com, where I walk you through all of the different sounds, how they change in different places, and how to link and connect and use the changed sounds. Thank you. Okay. I have a question or comment about getting stuck speaking, about not finding the appropriate vocabulary, forgetting the vocabulary at the time of speaking. How to tackle this. Yeah, this is a very, very common problem for a lot of people. You have a big vocabulary, a lot of things you understand. If you're writing, you can pull up those words, you have time to think. Speaking, we just don't have time. We don't have time to think. We have to kind of just be able to move. So you can sometimes take a little pause. We tend to feel like we have to jump right in, fill up, answer the question, take our turn. And sometimes that's true. Things are moving fast. We don't have time to think. But sometimes you can take a little pause. You can say something like, let me think. Or you can repeat back, oh, so you're asking X, Y, Z. That buys you a little bit of time, and maybe that word will pop into place. But more importantly, I would say that when we write, we're going to use different words than when we speak. So generally, speech, the more you can use really simple, clear language, the better. It's going to be more clear without that word you're searching for. Now, sometimes if that word you're searching for is really key and you can't make your point without it, it's very frustrating. So I don't mean to tell you that what you're describing is not true. It is definitely an issue and a problem, but trying to remember that in most cases, the simplest way with the simplest words you can say something is the best way, because it's going to be the most concise, it's going to be the clearest, and the most straightforward. That doesn't mean that that's easy. In fact, a lot of native speakers need to work on that as well, that they may be using more kind of written vocabulary when they're speaking, especially if they're trying to plan a presentation or a speech. If you write something and then you try to say that, it's not going to sound very natural. It's much more common to have mistakes, changes, errors, simple language as we're speaking. So I'm just telling you this because I hope that it makes you feel less anxious about those situations where the words aren't coming. And then I'm also going to give you a strategy, which is don't spend as much time writing, not that you necessarily are. Spend as much time as possible speaking to other people, to describe things, whatever you can do to be speaking out loud or even thinking in sentences in English. The more your brain has to practice pulling those words it knows and putting them into sentences. If I'm only speaking in that moment when I'm under pressure, can't come up with the words, I haven't had enough practice, right? Because think about everything we have to do for speech. We have to process what we've heard. We have to think about and formulate an answer. We have to maybe translate that into English. We have to take our concepts and ideas, put them into grammar. We have sentence order. We have pronunciation. We have articulation. We have voice. We have all of these different pieces, intonation. There's no way we can consciously control all that. And if we're scrambling and trying to come up with a word, there's not a lot of extra room for that, and that is one of the things that just drops off because there's too many other demands placed on our brain for speaking in real life. So the more I have to take whatever is in my mind, those concepts, those ideas, and formulate them into language, speak them out loud, the more practice I have for all of those processes, the more automatic some of those can become. And then finding that word, I might have a little bandwidth left to grab it and use that word I wanted, that I thought of later that I couldn't think of in the moment, because I've had more practice. My brain has had more patterning built up for all of the other pieces that I need to do. So again, kind of back to the question about fluency, the more you speak, even if it's about mundane things. I'm getting up, today at work I'm going to do this, what should I have for breakfast? You know, you're just describing, you're explaining, you're processing, you're speaking your thoughts. That all of those things are going to help you slowly but surely build those skills to have fewer of those problems when you're in the real life speaking circumstances. So I hope that helps you. I do have a couple of videos here on the channel talking about speaking your thoughts out loud and how to practice that. And so you can check those out after class if that's helpful for you. Okay, great. We have a question about the word endeavor, how to pronounce it. So let's go through that. We have endeavor. So this one's a little misleading because it has the EA, just like in a word like read past tense. The EA in this word says the S sound and it's stressed. So we stress the de. And I would say an endeavor, maybe I would think of this as an N. It might even be in the dictionary as an in though, endeavor, because it's not stressed in that first syllable. And then letters OR just say the sound here. So I would write this as, I'm just going to write the letter N, endeavor. So we endeavor to improve daily. Great. Okay. Wonderful. So such a great class today. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your great questions, for your patience as I went into lengthy explanations. I hope it wasn't more than you were hoping for. I'm really excited to let you know that coming on Tuesday, we have a video talking about rhythm, natural rhythms in English, and I've broken it down for you in a way that I hope will make it very clear, help you to understand how native speakers speak and their rhythms. It's part of our intonation playlist, and that's going to be dropping on Tuesday. And keep watching for those short little videos in between our main videos on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We've been uploading some shorts and some small things to help you. Check back with our community page for some daily tips, and I've been highlighting some specific videos to pull for you from the channel what I think is going to be most useful for you. So do check those out if you have time. The more you're practicing and listening, the more you know, the more you'll improve. Thanks so much for a wonderful class, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday's video dropping and next Saturday for our live class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.